Welcome to Literary Music Series, where we champion the intertwining of music and words. I'm your host, Natalie. This evening, we have music from 19th century Romantic composer Franz Liszt and poetry from the Italian poet Dante and his epic work, Divine Comedy. We are so pleased to have Anthony Ratinov joining us on the piano. Enjoy. Hey, Anthony. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you for having me.
I'm so excited. So you have some excerpts from the Divine Comedy to share with us today.
Yes, so I will start with an excerpt from the very opening of the poem from Canto 1. Mm-hmm. In the midway of this, our mortal life, I found me in a gloomy wood astray. Gone from the path direct, and even to tell, it were no easy task, how savage, wild that forest, how robust and rough its growth, which to remember only my dismay renews in bitterness not far from death. Yet to discourse of what there good befell, all else will I relate discovered there. How first I entered it I scarce can say, such sleepy dullness in that instant weighed my senses down, when the true path I left, but when a mountain's foot I reached, where closed the valley that had pierced my heart with dread, I looked aloft, and saw his shoulders broad, already vested with that planet's beam, who leads all wanderers safe through every way. And I will read now an excerpt from Canto 3. Through me you pass into the city of woe, through me you pass into eternal pain. Through me among the people lost for aye, justice the founder of my fabric moved. To rear me was the task of power divine, supremest wisdom and primeval love. Before me things create were none, save things eternal and eternal I endure. All hope abandon ye who enter here. Here sighs with lamentation and loud moans resounded through the air pierced by no star, that even I wept at entering. Various tongues, horrible languages, outcries of woe, accents of danger, voices deep and hoarse, with hands together smote that swelled the sounds, made up a tumult that forever whirls round through that air with solid darkness stained, like to the sand that in the whirlwind flies.
That was beautiful. Thank you. So, to depart from the poetry for a second, and we'll come back to it later, you paired this with Liszt's Dante Sonata.
Of course,
right?
Yes.
Okay, so we'll hear that later in the episode. Mm-hmm. Can you tell me a little bit about why you picked the Dante Sonata? What is the poeticism of it and the inherent connection between this Divine Comedy and the Dante Sonata?
Of course. So when you generously invited me on this series, of course my mind went initially to the Dante Sonata because it's really so connected to literature very explicitly, although not in a programmatic way. But not only is it narratively connected to this powerful work by Dante, the Divine Comedy, and specifically Inferno, Paradiso, and Purgatory, but the piece of work, the work of music itself, is so poetic in nature in the way that Liszt has constructed it and all these musical themes and climaxes and tensions that we hear. Mm-hmm. And of course, a key thing about it is that it isn't exactly a programmatic work of music. It is after a reading of Dante's Inferno rather than during. So it's not necessarily telling the tale from start to finish. It's Liszt's very powerful impression after reading Dante's Divine Comedy, which is, of course, this monumental, really almost monstrous dramatic work telling how Dante himself enters hell and goes through purgatory and eventually arrives at Paradiso, meets God, and has this incredible roller coaster of a journey, as you can imagine. And Liszt puts all of this in about 17 minutes of music. And it's really incredible how he shows all these characters and these highs, these lows, this incredible drama of the music. And so not only are we taken on this really dramatic and tumultuous ride, but there are these moments of relief, these moments of hope that pervade the musical work, and it's really a very beautiful musical journey in just under 20 minutes.
Yeah, I'm very excited to hear it. And the music itself, I mean, I've heard the piece before, but maybe some of our listeners haven't. It has that poeticism to it that you're describing. I wonder, to you, the text that you just read, is there musicality to it? Do you think that perhaps, let's say the roles were reversed and, Dante heard Liszt's Dante Sonata, right?
Wow.
Without any context.
Wow, yeah.
And he decided to just write a poem based on that sonata. Do you think that there's musicality in that text?
Definitely. I mean, I think the poem would have been a lot shorter because the sonata is quite short.
It's quite short.
But short comparative to other pieces into the Divine Comedy. But
right.
I think the poeticism in the actual poem, what translates to music in that is just the sort of images and the emotions that instantly grip the listener, the reader. And the first excerpt that I read, Canto 1, it's the very opening of the poem. It's just how Dante himself sort of stumbles upon this journey.
Yeah.
And to me, there's something really powerful about it because he's just wandering a forest. He's kind of sleepy, and there's something strangely relatable about that. Like, what if this were to happen to any of us? You
Right.
know, of course, the rest of the poem is so... it's sublime. It's not relatable at all, hopefully. But the beginning, it just shows that this could be anyone. And this is in huge contrast to the opening of the Sonata by Liszt because it starts with this dramatic fanfare of the tritone interval, and it's so immediately, we're going to hell.
Right.
Whereas the poem sort of slips us in there, which I think is really beautiful. And then the second excerpt is actually when he's already started his descent, and he hears these cries, and it's really starting this anguish and these visuals and these emotions that really stay with the reader and the listener.
Yeah, this is why there is such a relationship between poetry and music. I think the Divine Comedy and Liszt's Dante Sonata is such a prime example of that intertwining.
Yes.
So, let's hear the music now.
Great.
Thank you for joining us. Join us again on May 12th for the next episode. See you soon.